folks, it's 7 o'clock straight up. So let's call this meeting to order. And Jill, if you will list all of the attendees, and we know that Karen is missing tonight, but we still have a quorum. So on the screen, I hope, I have the minutes from February. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, if you will just scroll through these, I'll go very slowly so that we can kind of see what was going on and make sure that you don't have any questions or additions.
Oh, how the world has changed since we all last met.
I couldn't understand that.
I said, oh, how the world has changed since we last met.
Isn't that amazing? Now the dog that wanted out wanted back in. I'll be right back.
My chickens now peck on my office window when they want attention. I move to accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And so let the minutes show that Devin Rankin was the one that moved to accept the minutes as is, and Jennifer Saunders. We have to ask each person individually for their vote. So I'm Debbie Foster. I am voting yes. And Jennifer?
Yes.
Jennifer Saunders. Jill Palmer?
Yes.
Devin Rankin?
Yes.
All right. That's the first thing that we got right so far. Yay.
On a roll.
So moving on, if you have the agenda that I sent out, you can see pictures that were attached to this. So can everybody pull those up? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought you might like to see what the entrance plantings are looking like right now. So the first one that you have is West John Street, and that is over by Brewster's. And I think that we lost 3 or 4 plants over there, and what we lost was all of the butterfly weed plants. So Lisa is aware of that, and we'll try and get some. I don't know if she has any right now, if we'll have to wait until fall for that. But at least it lets you see that the size is maturing and things were just starting to bloom when I made the pictures at the end of last week. The second picture is from 51, and it's over by Carmel Baptist Church. Jill, is that right? Carmel Baptist? I always get this wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
When did the pictures come out? Because I don't seem to have anything
It came
attached.
out on the agenda that I sent out. Let me
I
see.
didn't get one. I didn't get one either. I was just scrolling through my email, and I don't see an agenda email.
That's odd.
I don't see. I have a June meeting, and that's the last one.
Yeah, me too.
Debbie, do you want to share that other document? Close this screen and start the other one?
What other one?
The agenda packet, and then they can all see it on your shared screen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Figure out where that is. Lori, refresh refresh my memory, was that a second email or was it on the invitation to the meeting?
The last I saw, you actually still had a tab open on your browser. So if you open Chrome or whatever you were using, I think you still have the tab up. It was the town's agenda page. And that I think that'll be the easiest place to find it quickly. If you need to, I can pull it up on mine and share my screen.
Yeah, that might be a faster thing to do.
Okay, hold on just one moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let me pull it up first.
So this is showing 7 participants. Do we have a guest present?
Yes, we do. You have a citizen attending.
Okay. And do we know who that is?
That is Mr. Tufano.
Uh-huh. Hi, Mark.
He can't speak to you right now because he's in attendee mode.
Okay.
So he's not able to interact with you. I can change that after your meeting is done if you wanted to speak with him.
Okay.
So you guys are seeing my screen right now. I'm sorry, I don't know which photo you wanted.
Should be the very first one that I sent out.
All right. I apologize. I'm not sure if they got attached in the same order. So if you can take a peek and tell me if this is not the right one, I'll keep scrolling.
Yeah, this is not the right one.
Okay. Actually, that's
That looks like the Brewster sign.
Oh, man.
There we go. All right. So this is no, this is the old one. One up. Yeah, scroll one up. All right. So there's the wall by Brewster's, and you can see right here, there's some vacant spaces and there are some symmetrical ones over here that you can't see. The pink muley grass is starting to show a little color. There's a little color coming on here and some of these as well. So in another couple of weeks, I would say go over there and have a look at it because it should have a lot of color and you can kind of get an idea. Only thing that I was a little bit worried about was the height of the flocks here. So you guys tell me, is that something that bothers you because it's blocking out part of the sign?
I wouldn't think we'd want the plantings to block any part of the sign. If there's a way maybe in the fall to move that one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. We can ask Lisa about that. So if you'll make a note of that on the minutes, we can consult her about it. And it could just be that they can be pruned back a little bit. I don't know. Others of you, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp. You would want the height, I think, on either side to kind of flank it with a descending kind of gradual ground cover of some sort in front that wouldn't grow above the welcomes you sign.
Right.
I would say hi to my family.
Ralph, what do you think?
I think it's too high. I agree. It shouldn't block the sign.
Yeah.
And it's just, I know it's the nature of the plant, but maybe they need to be shifted over some.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take that up with Lisa then. Okay. So going to the next picture down, Lori. This is the other entrance, and this one is in pretty much full shade, so very different plantings, and it's also on an incline. It goes straight up to 51. So these all look really, really good. One of the pieces that I really liked was this piece with rocks and the different ferns because it's got texture. And those plants are all doing well. They're not galloping quite as much as the other ones are, but I don't think that we lost any plants over there. So I just wanted you guys to be able to see what we talked about for so long and see what the status is at this point. So moving on to the legacy tree program. I had also put a file on there with the trifold, but we were talking about some potential. Can we click on that file, Lori? There we go. So this is what's on the town website, so people can actually go to this and fill out the application if they want. And it can be homeowners that are doing it, and we could also put something in, and we had actually talked about two particular trees, the oak that's, I think, on the left in front of Matthews Elementary, and the sequoia that's in front of Seaboard. So we could go ahead and do that if we wanted and fill that out. One of the questions that I had, and since Lori's on with us tonight, this would be a great question for her. In order to advertise this, what do we do? Do we just hand it over to, help me out.
Maureen, yeah.
Yes.
Maureen Keith is our communications coordinator.
Yeah.
She can absolutely help you with this advertisement. So if you guys have a plan, I would suggest that you just tell her what you're interested in. If you need her to help you figure out what the best way to do it would be, she can do that too.
Okay, good. Well, I'm thinking that she just takes the information on this application. What do you all think?
That makes sense to me. And also, I believe I've got a bunch of those brochures back at the shop that had been printed up maybe 12 or more years ago.
Oh, wow. So 12 years and we still have no trees labeled?
No, it's a vote thing. So if somebody has a suggestion about a legacy tree, then they would fill out and nominate that tree. And then I would go out and take measurements to see if it fits a certain criteria. Whether it's historic, whether it's large, obviously it's got to be a healthy tree and those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. Are the criteria well defined at this point? Do we need to do anything with that?
I need to look at that brochure, but I think it's in that brochure. I'm not 100%.
And what's on here right now is town landscape manager's tree measurement, circumference at 4.5 inches, 4.5 should be feet, shouldn't it? 4.5 feet inches.
I thought that was I thought there was a two-sided. Am I wrong? I thought it was a two-sided.
It's a
brochure.
three-sided.
Three-sided.
Yeah.
Okay.
The trifold.
That's all the information right there. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to look back, but basically that's the information I've seen, and I'm surprised it's not on there. But it has to have some kind of significance, right?
Yeah.
And we have to determine. Have to determine that significance.
Well, the measurements are circumference, total height, date measured, and crown spread. So I don't, was everything significant at one point? Do we want to add something else to it?
I don't know if it's got, I think it doesn't indicate the health of the tree, but that's a consideration. If the tree is half dead, it's not really too significant.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We want to make significant changes to this trifold if you have some left that we could distribute and just kind of, I don't know, is it fair to say use common sense when we get nominations if we see a half-dead tree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that people would think the tree is significant, if it looks like it's in ill health. The trees, like you said, over at the Matthews Elementary, they're in pretty good shape, for instance, but the one in the back patio area has got a significant amount of decay, so that's kind of hard to go there and say it's a legacy. I'm not.
Right.
So, yeah.
And what would we want on the sign? We talked about this at one point, and some of this information is on here. The common name of the tree, the location of the tree, the scientific name. Well, the location is going to be obvious because the little plaque will be either on or in front of the tree. Would the common name and the scientific name be enough, or would we want to include other information?
The only thing I can think of is maybe if there's any historical information that can be had about it, because I think maybe Dr. Reed's grandchild or daughter planted those trees at the elementary school, for instance. So some kind of historical tag.
Okay. And Ralph, when this was first designed, did you guys have a design for the actual plaque?
No, and that's something that needs to be developed. I mean, I think based on today's standards and all that, I think it'd be nice to have a fresh design. So anybody that has ideas about how to present it, that'd be good.
Luckily, we have a couple of people who have some talent with graphics on here. Jennifer and Devin. Do you have some ideas?
Well, maybe we could do something with the Matthews, either the Matthews logo or the Matthews Love thing that was going around for a while. Maybe something, so let me work on something like that. I'm sure Devin's got some ideas too.
Okay. Devin, do you want to speak to any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on what it's made out of and what we think, is this something that's like a metal plaque that's, relief, or is it a plastic, longer term heavy duty plastic where you can actually incorporate some more graphics? I think it just depends on which way we want to go. Is this kind of something more of a metal placard memorial style, or is this something a little bit more modern that you would see kind of like out on a nature trail, designed to maybe last for a few years, but needs to be kind of reformatted, redesigned, fixed for sun bleaching. So I think it depends on what you want to do. I think you've got a lot more options with the plastic to get a little bit more creative and graphically, interesting. But it's probably going to have to be changed out, more frequently than a metal placard.
Yeah.
So Ralph, it's coming out of your budget, correct?
Yeah. Are we talking about that $1,000 budget? Is that what we're saying?
The Tree and Appearance Advisory Committee no longer has a budget because that was last year.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can find some funds if we can accomplish it. Sure. I don't see why not.
So would you rather have something that's longer lasting or something that is more flexible but shorter lasting?
Well, I think the plastic or idea was good because it just depends how much information you're going to put on there. If you're just going to have a one or two lines of information, that's one thing. If you want to extend it out, maybe the plastic option is more flexible for that use.
Okay. Well, Jennifer and Devin, can you guys put your heads together and have something to show us next month?
Sure.
Or month after? I mean, don't let me give you a deadline you can't adhere to. Pick your own deadline.
Yeah, I'd be glad
I think
to.
we can come up with something.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on what we want to do with it. If it's just something that kind of states the tree, or if this is going to be something that's more, educational. I think we just need to decide what we want it to be.
Well, I think it has to be twofold. It's definitely educational, but then it's also an investment in Matthew's significant trees by labeling it and identifying it as a significant tree for whatever reason, the size, the history, whatever. It lends it a bit of protection to some degree, but then people also can say that's a beautiful tree. What is that? And it might prompt them to plant something like that in their own yard.
How many are we thinking about having?
We have no idea how many there might be. That's why we said we know of two right off the bat without citizens, but it would be really nice, especially maybe come Earth Day, if we start this early on and get people involved.
I think it also will depend. I think to a degree, it's less about the signage and more about how you protect and place the signage, right? Like, what does the memorial structure look like that holds it? Is this something that you have to like 3 stand next to the tree, monument style? Do we need a, pressure treated wood timber structure to like hang it on? I think those are the next things that Jennifer and I will probably have. I think the simplicity of the design is one thing, but it's how do we envision using it, hanging it, placing it would be the next question, because that's going to eat up budget pretty quick, right? If you've got to bring a boulder in and place a metal placard, or for the signage, are we talking a library style size of a wood standing? Does anybody have any idea? Or is that Jennifer and I creative juices need to start flowing?
Well, there's some educational placards down in Stumptown, Squirrel Lake area that I think Hawk put together.
Guess who did those? They were not expensive. The only problem is, they're on a stake, so it's easy to pull the stake out of the ground.
Right.
You could still use that same type of sign and perhaps mount it on a rock, a piece of granite, something like that. I have no idea what that type of thing costs.
Right, right. Me neither. Yeah.
Debbie and Ralph, I think you're talking about two different things. Debbie, you're talking about the plant signs, and Ralph, I think you're talking about the other larger stationary that were there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And the information.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well, if we're talking about doing this for specific trees, then we're not doing like one sign that we're going to print 30 of them. We're talking about, if we're talking about individual information per sign. So we have to figure that. Yeah.
Well, and if I remember correctly, the smaller of those signs that are, again, in the ground, but I don't know that they've lost any of them. I want to say the smallest ones were in the $130 range. So they weren't prohibitively expensive.
Okay.
Well, we have a full functioning wood shop now here at the farm. So if we are fully operational in the carpentry department. So,
I can see all of the members of the Appearance and Tree Advisory Committee coming to live with you if this pandemic keeps going.
hey, the more the merrier. We're making birdhouses. Why not throw in some legacy tree or monuments while we're at it?
Well, she can feed us because she's got a big garden.
Yeah. Well, we do have a carpenter now that is using our back garage for real as his work studio space. So that's something that Jennifer and I can maybe talk about offline to see, design wise, what something like that might look like.
Right.
To go a little bit more permanent using like pressure treated lumber and putting something up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
the
talk.
only thing I don't think we want is a sign going on a tree being nailed.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
No tree jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll look to see what you guys have for us the next time we meet then, and see if we can't get at least a couple of these done, maybe before the end of the year.
Okay.
Debbie, before you move on, can I mention a housekeeping item?
Sure.
So, Ralph, this is really more for you, but as I was looking at the existing trifold that you have here, it needs to be updated anyway because it's still got your very old email address on, which no longer functions. So you have to update that. You might as well take the opportunity if you wanted to upgrade any of the other questions or verbiage that's on there. You're going to have to do it anyway. So have at it.
That's a good point.
Sounds like thank you.
Yep.
So Ralph, do you want to come up with some suggestions on that one for next month?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll pull it out and start editing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Some software, if we need to make a new one, I have some software that we can make a new trifold if the town doesn't, or if the town doesn't have that responsibility. We can update information and put it into a doc if we need to.
That sounds exciting. I like that idea.
And I'm glad to help out with that too, Devin.
All right, perfect. In all our free time.
Yeah. This is good. We'll tag team that. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you're saving commuting time at least, huh?
That's right.
Okay, so that's about all we can do for that this month, but let's move on to new business. And Mark Tefano, who is now the head of the Veterans Group in Matthews, had talked to us fairly recently about recommending that worn American flags be replaced, which I think is that says something about the town when we've got tattered flags hanging about that are very, very faded. And then he also recommended that if we're going to replace flags, we purchase flags that are made in the United States. So he asked what we thought about that and whether we would be willing to represent our views on that to the commissioners. So discussion?
I had talked, we brought something up like that at one of our staff meetings, and one of our supervisors said that he was pretty sure that the flags that we purchased were made in America. And, we talked about the fact that some of them were need to be replaced, and I think they were obviously in support of it. I just think somebody mention it again and say, well, who would be responsible for buying the flags and all that sort of thing. And I think it comes through public works for the most part.
Okay.
So we need to check with possibly CJ or one of those folks over there.
Well, I do think that there have already been some flags replaced and that Mark paid the difference out of his own pocket between the flags that we were usually getting and the flags made in the United States. So I think he's looking at going forward. Laurie?
Hey, I just wanted to let you know, because this has been a topic of conversation with the board. So the flags that we do purchase are American made. The board did agree that that was important, and if we were considering anything that hadn't been American made, that's no longer going to be the case, although they were American made anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. And Mr. Tefano did recommend, he offered very generously to pay the difference for some flags that have not yet been put up, and the board took the opportunity to find some funding to do that anyway. So even though he made the very generous offer, he doesn't actually have to do that. There's some issues with the flags and the placement of them, but that was a Veterans Advisory Committee action that was talking about all of the flags that are on town facilities are replaced on a regular basis by our Public Works Department folks. But if you guys ever notice anything that is tattered that we haven't gotten to yet, please let Ralph or me know, and we're happy to do that, because we might have just overlooked it.
Okay, great.
So if you guys want to take official action to say, yes, you do want US made flags, you're welcome to, but you don't actually have to at this point.
Okay. Good to know.
What happens with the old flags? I'm just curious.
They are actually, we have a flag collection box. We have multiple boxes in town that are done through the American Legion, and they actually take them and retire them respectfully in accordance with the flag code. So if you have any flags that you need to get rid of, one of the collection boxes is right at Town Hall, so you can just put it in there, and then you'll know it'll be retired properly.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, and then the second part of that, also for Mr. Tefano, was about the veterans memorials that are over at Stumptown Park. We've got something that looks like a wall. It's a low wall. And it has names of people who lived in Matthews who died in wars, and I don't know how far back it goes. But the area has an unloved look to it now. I've got some pictures of that too, Lori. So this is keep going. Keep going. You'll see the wall when you get there. Okay, so there it is. And so it just needs a little TLC with planting. And one of Mark's concerns was being able to see the gas station behind there with whatever cars happened to be parked there at the time. And so he was looking for ideas and funding to come up with to make this a place of pride for veterans and for the town, and thought that perhaps we might be able to use some screening with shrubs to put behind it that would mask the gas station, and then do some planting at least on either side, if not all the way across, because they do actually access this during some events, they'll walk up to the wall. So you don't want it, it's planted completely across where people could step on it. Ralph, that represent that fairly?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that latest conversation with Scott was that he wanted to, since some of it might come out of his budget, or he had to make the call as to whether shrubs or whatever goes in that park, that he and Corey wanted to, I don't know, advise on that or be advised of it directly. At least that's kind of the feel that I got, the last information that I've received.
I believe that there was a meeting yesterday with Lisa Tompkins, who designed the entrances, to get her feedback on this, but I could not attend that meeting, so I don't know what happened with it.
Okay.
Anyway, that's one piece of the puzzle. And then if you scroll back up to the first picture, okay, so this is one of the pieces that's near the flagpole, which is the other Veterans Memorial. And you can just see it basically just needs some weeding. I mean, there's a lot of weeds in the front here, and some trees coming up in here. So it just needs a little TLC. I didn't know if Ralph, is that something you guys do regularly over there?
We were doing it regularly up until the coronavirus, and and now it's just a matter of catch up and us getting Mario, for instance, to go and do a little detail work in these areas to get them back in some kind of shape.
Okay. And scroll on down another picture or two. So if you can look right here, you can see a lot of redbud trees coming up through there. And this is also over near the flagpole, and that's just a maintenance issue too. And they're sticking out through the fence onto the sidewalk. Just wanted to call the attention. I hadn't even noticed it until we were over there looking at the memorials last week or week before last.
Yeah, we've got some work to do.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's see here. Well,
On the Veterans Memorial piece, is this something that could be, I mean, pre-coronavirus, whenever we come out of it? Like, is this a community-led project that, I used to be involved with the auxiliary through the Legion, and that was these were the kind of projects that we would do, kind of get involved in the community and help, pull in some of the scouting groups or some of the other kind of ROTC, JROTC groups to come out and help with like the cleaning and the maintenance, but maybe like various different chapters. I don't know how large the service industries are, the Legion and auxiliary, like if there are a couple different groups that would sponsor 1 5-gallon plant or something per group. So it didn't come out of anybody's particular budget, but was part of the service project.
So right now, there's no budget for this because it's just hasn't been on anybody's radar. So one of the suggestions that Ralph and I made to Mark is he might want to look into some sort of fundraiser to see who might want to get involved in this. Laura, you may know the answer to this. The flagpole has some stones by it that have people's names engraved. I guess it was people who donated to the project.
Right.
Can you give us any background on that and how much they might have paid for the stones?
I'm afraid I don't have that information off the top of my head. It was a program that I will see if I can find something on our website about it and get back to you before this meeting is over.
Okay, cool. We need to keep her in our meeting. What do you think? She's kind of Anyway, so they were looking at maybe Kiwanis being involved, certainly the Veterans Association being involved. There was a North Carolina Veterans Association that Mark said actually had some funding that they might be able to get involved. We don't have any funding to put toward this. I think it's a worthy goal, and I do think we want things that are significant to our town to have the best appearance possible. But it may be a long-term project with raising money to do it right. We're just in the very, very infant stage of this project, though. So is this something that we want to make any recommendations on? Do you have other ideas for this?
I
I like
the
it.
idea of putting in, trying to get an auxiliary group to take on some of the maintenance of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the idea of having the volunteerism work on beautifying right there where the monument, where we're talking about creating a screen and all that. Just have volunteers, like on a service day. If there's supplies that need to be had, we can work through Scott maybe to acquire some of those plants that volunteers would be willing to put in.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if he met with Lisa, then maybe she's got some firm ideas on the types of plants and could source plants for us. We're kind of in a disadvantage because we just don't have enough information at this point in time. I do encourage everybody to go have a look at this site.
Yeah, I think a next step would be just kind of a more robust plan, maybe from the veterans group of what they'd like to do so that we could participate in helping fund it and get it completed.
Okay. Lori, can we ask Mark about the meeting that took place on Sunday?
You can invite him into your meeting, but I am not certain he's available to do that. I know on other meetings he's not had a microphone. So
Okay.
I will allow him the ability to do that, but I'm not sure if he's going to actually be able to.
Okay.
So
And is it you doing that or Ralph doing that?
I'm going to do that right now. And then it will be up to him to speak if he can. If not, he is certainly hearing everything that's going on. So if he needs to speak to you afterwards or via email or something like that, you can do that with him. And he has not. Let's see, Mark, are you able to speak at this point? Yeah, I think he's just not able to with the device he's on right now.
Okay. Well, Mark, if you want to send me an email, I can certainly share it with the rest of the group. All right. Is there anything else that we need to discuss tonight? That's a quiet response.
I guess we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see when what July is going to look like.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So my understanding is that they are hoping that all of the groups come back to meeting in July on a regular basis. So I thought it was better that we kind of test this out this month, and then next month it won't be quite such a learning curve for us. Yes.
So I was just telling Ralph before your meeting started that we don't actually know what's going to happen next month. The numbers are not going exactly where we would like to see countywide and statewide. So the Board of Commissioners is definitely meeting remotely in June. The mayor is deciding what they're going to do for the July meetings, and he hasn't finalized that decision yet. As soon as he does, that will decide what you as advisory committees do. And so as soon as I find out, I'll be able to tell you, but we just don't know yet what your next meeting is going to be.
Okay. I misunderstood that. I thought it was a planned Zoom meeting in July, but not.
Well, I will say this, even if we do have the ability to have in-person meetings in July, if you guys are more comfortable not meeting in person and would still like to do the Zoom meetings, that is fine. So if you know now that that's what you want to do, we can just do that. Or if you want to talk about it and you guys can let me know later, perfectly fine either way.
Well, why don't we talk about it right now just so we can get an honest opinion from everybody. Don't feel bad about saying I do not want to see you in person. Just let's figure this out now. Ralph, how do you feel?
Well, Lori had talked to me previously and said there's one thing to consider, and that outdoor meetings where we keep our social distancing. So that's one possibility.
But that's dependent on weather, so we'd have to have a plan B and people looking for plan B to know what to do.
That's correct.
I would be comfortable either outside or inside because where we've been meeting, we can certainly be socially distanced there. But if people are not comfortable with that, I completely understand it. And if you wanted people to wear masks in the meeting, I have no problem with that personally. Jennifer?
I'm good with any of those options.
Jill?
I'm just going day by day. So
Okay.
long-term commitments to anything at this point.
Okay. I know Jill's been on a pretty hard lockdown because we talk, so she's limited her exposure to people. Yes. Devin?
Yeah, we're about the same. I mean, you know, of the bunch, having the two little ones
I can talk.
that have the most, have the most exposure, you know, whereas vulnerable as carriers as anything. So totally flexible being on Zoom, you know, in some kind of hybrid or socially distanced far from everybody.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like we have a consensus one way or another for a particular format. So shall we play it here? It may be we only have the option of Zoom next month. So let's just see what the commissioners decide to do and then can notify you.
Okay, thank you. I do also just want to point out that Mark Tofano was able to join. So if you wanted to speak with him, he has the ability to talk.
Wonderful. Mark, can you tell us what happened with the meeting with Lisa on Sunday?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, it was very exciting. Lisa Tompkins, who's a friend of Debbie's and also a very talented landscape architect, met us there along with the representatives from the Matthews Artist Guild, which was Eileen Schwartz and a very talented artist named Don Estes. And they chatted for a long time, and they're coming up with the plans for that area. And Don will actually draw a actual rendering, more of an artist conception than a rendering of what the facility would look like after Lisa finishes. Now, in response to Ralph, I have spoken with Scott Rawls and have submitted plans to Scott and Corey, tentative plans, and they agreed with the plans. So that's a work in progress. And as far as the funding is concerned, we're planning on the city not having to pay a single penny. So we've got fundraisers in place to raise whatever money is necessary in order to complete that area. So what the extraordinary part about all of this is that it's a phenomenal ability for the entire town to come together as a group. We have the Appearance and Tree Committee, the Veterans Committee, the Parks and Rec, the American Legion, the list goes on. And it's just a wonderful feel-good opportunity for everybody to get together. So that is where we are at the moment. We're not going to really have anything to show until about, I would say, the week after the 4th of July. And at that point, Lisa would have been out to measure and to come up with her basic plan, and that would give Don time to actually draw it out. And at that point in time, that'll be the kickoff. So in other words, that is the point in which we'll have something in hand to show the overall scheme to Parks and Rec and to Appearance and Tree and to the Veterans Committee and eventually to the town board. So, and I had spoken to Debbie about this already. I wanted the MBAC and the Appearance and Tree and Parks and Rec advisory committees to actually be the point people for all of this, because I think the three of those committees together are just an extraordinary group of people, and coming together would be so dynamic. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and that's all the updates we have. So really nothing much to show until after Lisa and Don finish their work.
So let me clarify. Are you planning on screening the gas station with plants or with a structure?
Well, actually, what I submitted to Scott and was approved was an extraordinary. Remember, we were talking about 3 or 4 foot high brick wall that sort of went the same arc as the original wall.
Mhm.
Well, up against that wall will be 5 service flags with the POW MIA flag. So all 6 flags with uplighting from the bottom in the back there. And then in the front, approaching that wall, will be pavers very similar to what's around the flagpole right now, and with names of those that have fallen in battle on their, because that pathway has to be open for us for wreath laying ceremonies and that sort of thing. And
So these will be different names than what's on the wall?
yeah, because that's from World War I and World War II. We
Oh.
want to bring in Korean War, Vietnam, all the Gulf Wars, etc. That not necessarily Matthews residents, but perhaps relatives of Matthews residents. And it's just going to be a very moving experience. And the point of all this is to have it ready for Veterans Day, which is November 11th. So that would be the big opening for it. Everybody in the town is aware of it, from Corey, all the staff, Hazen, the mayor. We just have to get to the point where we're able to work as a team to bring a presentation to the Board of Commissioners. But Ralph, I want a special thank you to Ralph. There were the flags on the flagpole, which we were not able to lower to half mast on Memorial Day during the ceremony then, because the flags were torn and tattered in the tree. Ralph jumped right on it, had the tree trimmed, and also put new flags up on the pole, and it was made an enormous difference already. So thank you, Ralph.
Yeah, anytime.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mark?
Oh, sounds like a wonderful project.
Oh, yes, it is. It's and Devin, you just put your foot in your mouth. We're going to get you in the auxiliary.
All right. All right.
You didn't know you were an auxiliary member. We've got an extraordinary auxiliary group, and you're going to be recruited here.
I like it. Well, I'm a Girls Nation auxiliary alumni, so makes sense. Why not?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give you an update, and I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Can you talk about how you expect to get funding?
Actually, we already have unofficially already $3,000.
Wow.
And that is without even advertising. So we're going to have this full-fledged advertising campaign in the Matthews Minto Weekly, Facebook advertising. We're going to have all of the businesses on both sides of 74. We've already started recruiting some. They're very excited about it. I have no doubt in my mind that the town is going to come together to support veterans in a very respectful and honorable way. I don't have any doubt that we'll raise whatever capital is necessary in order to do this.
Do you have a wild idea how much capital may be necessary?
Not at this time. Do not hold me to this because, it's just way too early. But we're planning on raising anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
Okay. So there's been some great discussion of what's going on, and we need to get it done before a couple of weeks before November 11th. And it's going to be that particular ceremony during Veterans Day will be the grand opening of the new Veterans Memorial.
All right. Other questions or comments?
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark.
So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
And do we have a second? I see Jennifer's lips moving. She's on mute, but I bet she seconded it.
I second it, but I believe we have a question.
We have a question. Reese, do you have a question for the committee?
Yes.
What
What
is-
the weeds on the ground, like when we lay down cardboard, the sodas kind of come up on the poke, and poke is kind of stuck like this. And if they would get any infected, that would be spoiled out from instead of doing anything.
Little help, Devin.
Yep. I'll do
And
some.
what's
I'll do
that
some
make-
interpreting.
Kind of
He's concerned about. He's concerned about the poke. He's concerned about the poke weeds.
Yeah.
Grown to
Oh,
the size of trees, and most of them he can cut down with a machete. But he's worried about how big they get and how many we have invading lots of different parts of our yard.
Yep. And like.
So let's let them, the experts, talk about.
So you know what those are really great for? They are really great for birds. Birds love pokeberries. So not necessarily a bad thing.
So maybe there's some spots where we can let the poke grow, but maybe
Yeah.
in our grapevines or in the blueberry bushes.
Yeah.
Maybe out in the wild areas, and we'll let the birds have those.
Because you want your birds. I know you do.
Yeah, and a few more things. That
No more. You get one question. Say bye.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. So I need to go through everybody and ask whether you are in favor. So I am in favor. Jennifer?
now I'm in favor.
Jill?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Devin?
Aye.
All right, so we are adjourned at 7:51. Special thanks to Lori for her technical support and for Mark for being a guest to our meeting, and for Ralph, as always. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Miss Debbie.